Hello, fellow fans. I'm Mark. United with me is my host, the quotable Bryan. What up, Bryan?
Hey everyone.
Ah, such a good quote. Welcome, everyone, to UWF on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. On the last episode, Bryan and I united to rank the top 20 highest grossing blockbuster movies of all time. On this week's episode, Bryan and I unite with a very special guest host to discuss this year's Halloween Horror Nights Orlando. Now get out your pizza fries and fog machines as UWF starts now.
All right, let's do this one last time.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Football is life.
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Is Star Wars the one with the little wizard boy?
This is the way.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Ah, chills. Literal chills.
Hello, fans. Thank you all for uniting with us as we talk about all things fandom. Please give us a rate or review wherever you listen so we can unite with more fans out there on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. Follow UWF on Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter. You'll have more fun with us there, I promise. Bryan, how are you?
I am fantastic, Mark. How are you?
Were you about to say I am Groot? I don't know why.
I am Groot.
Oh, you're doing that great. All right. Bryan, the writer's strike, actually the morning of this recording ended. So that means we're getting movies again and TV shows. Yay! Good music.
Cut the party music.
Whoa, what?
Everybody thinks it's over, but it's not over. The writer's strike is over, so this first part of production can start again. But now we've got months, or at least weeks, while these studios meet with the actors, guild, and everything before we can actually get productions back up and running. So we've still got at least probably a month to go before anything picks back up.
Yeah. I mean, it is definitely a step closer. I did read it was the second longest strike holdout of all time. So it sounds like a lot of writers support the agreement. So good on them for getting what they wanted. And hopefully the actors, I don't know, Bryan, I think the actors will get it done by October this year.
Yeah, I think that's going to go fairly quickly. A lot of the writers' concerns, it looks like were completely based around AI, because those were some of the biggest talking points that came out around it. I was critical of it from the standpoint of, so we're going to do this again in 3 years because the contract was only signed for a 3-year length. Apparently that's customary. It's always a 3-year deal, and that just is what it is. So no reason to be too glass half empty, but I thought like 3 years was just kind of kicking the can down the road. But apparently 3 years is what is normal.
Yeah, I didn't learn that either until I saw the renewal as well. I thought 3 years. They couldn't like do 5. Oh, that's customary. All right. Well, I guess, things change. The industry changes. But, I saw in there that the writers can decide whether or not they want assistance from AI to help them writing, but they cannot be forced into it. So little things like that, good on them. And hopefully we can get movies going again. So actors, hope for the best. Marvel VFX workers are unionizing to get a better work environment. So I wish the best of luck to them all. Well, Bryan, I mentioned we have a special guest host tonight, one that I'm very excited, one that is a great friend and fan of the show. We're also big fans of them. But first, let's hear from our sponsors.
Hey guys, Dislife Mark here, and I want to tell you all about the official travel partner here at Chip & Company. Let our good friend Sarah at Destination to Travel help you plan your next Disney vacation. Sarah specializes in planning dream vacations for your family. She's an authorized Disney vacation planner, and she can help with every step of your magical vacation. The best thing is that her services are 100% free. Want to travel beyond Disney? Sarah has you covered there too. Want to find out more? Fill out a trip request form over at the website at Chip & Co. or email her directly at sarahsolberg@d2travel.com. Start planning that dream vacation today. Email her at sarahsolberg@d2travel.com.
Welcome back, listeners. Thank you, sponsors out there. Bryan, we have someone very special in the house, someone who makes everyone else's hairstyles look weak and not great, so much so that others are trying to be in sync with this guest. Let's hear it for the one, the only, the hardest working man in key business, Piano Rob.
I'm not a threat, just an entertainer.
Makes me sound like I'm a locksmith.
Cole the locksmith.
Hardest working in the key business.
I was trying to think. I'm like, because I always try to figure. I'm like, no, he doesn't just work in Florida. He does other states. Where else can I pump? Like, how else can I pump up Rob? Well, welcome the one, the only Piano Rob, my softball teammate, my really close friend, the man who was part of a lot of college program traditions at Disney World, and now you can still hear the lovely music of Piano Rob at Disney in multiple locations. Congratulations on Rose and Crown.
Thank you.
Of course, I have not caught you there yet. I'm really sad about it. I went and had a leaping leprechaun. I was like, I'm going to go have a leaping leprechaun. Listen to Piano Rob, and I got my days wrong, so I apologize.
There will be more.
Okay, good.
Rob, we are having you on to discuss your favorite event of all time. It's actually been fun to stay tuned to your social media. If you're not following Rob on social media, what are you doing? Start following him. But Rob, you claimed on social media you just had the best day of your entire life. So I would love to hear more about why and why this event means so much to you and who you got to share it with.
Oh my goodness. I didn't just say that either. I think it was yesterday was the best actual day of my life because we got to do my favorite event, Halloween Horror Nights, and we took the kids for the first time ever. The kids did the event. It was amazing. Amazing.
Why is this your favorite event ever? I guess let's start there. And then obviously I hope your kids are some of your favorite people on the planet. So that makes sense. So, but I'd love to hear more about why Halloween Horror Nights is the time you look forward to every year more than anything else.
There is something so special about this thing for me. One, I love being in the parks at night, and not just at night, super late at night. The park is open till 2 a.m. every night of Halloween Horror Nights. It's still been pretty warm, but obviously the later you stay, the cooler it gets, which we don't always get in this state. So I love being in that atmosphere at night. I love that the houses are different every year. It's not like you're going to the same park for the same rides. Every year you have about 2 months, and then you may never see these houses again. They disappear. So I love to experience them as much as you can, and they change. I love that you're on your feet the whole time for this event. Some people may disagree with me. It is, if you stay open to close, we will do 13 miles if we stay there. And we don't always stay open to close, but I love that aspect of it. I feel accomplished. And then on top of it, it's exciting to go through the houses. Like you're in the movie. I feel like you're a character involved in whatever is going on in that house. And you feel it's that adrenaline rush. You feel accomplished when you get out of it. All of these things combined, it's my favorite event.
Mark, have you made it to 2 a.m. closing down one of these nights?
This year, no. So bless Rob for that. No. The latest I made it this year was 12:30. That was the latest.
I don't think I've made even from my couch to my bed from 12:30. So you're doing better than me. Rob, there's going to be about, 45 to 50 total Horror Nights events this year. Are you going to make about half of those, maybe even more than that?
I think about half is fair.
Okay.
We usually go 15 to 20 something. And like I said, some of those, we might go for an hour and a half one night. Like maybe I'll get out of work at midnight and we'll run over there for an hour and a half and do what we can.
You're just getting your annual pass worth of free parking. That's what you're doing.
You're right. Well, and at that point it's free anyway. But the last hour, you could do 4 to 5 houses in the last hour. That it empties out usually.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
then Rob,
usually didn't make it that late either.
Well, Rob, you and I did Stay and Scream the last Sunday of my pass. I think I got in line before you. It was closer to 4, and that was my first experience with Stay and Scream. It could
for those unaware of what Stay and Scream is, Mark, can you share what that means for those of our listeners that could be attending the event.
Stay and Scream is where you get into the park early, pass holders, day ticket guests, and then you join a queue, a holding area in certain parts of the park. And then at a certain point, they move you forward for different houses. And then you get early access. Like me and my family did Stranger Things. So the park opens at 6. We were able to get into Stranger
30.
Things at about, 6:30?
6:30.
Ooh, we were able to get into Stranger Things about an hour early. We did 3 houses before the park opened.
It's an additional fee, I would assume.
No.
It's part of your ticket as long as you're in the park and you have a ticket to the event. Rob,
there's one of two ways. You can also pay an extra $40 to just get a Stay and Scream ticket, and you can get in any time after 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
So it's definitely a lot of standing around. But I'm sore. I'm so sore. But it was worth it, like I said, to get 3 houses done before the park opened, and it ended up being a busy night. So
good morning. I'm Wilford Brimley, and I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about diabetes.
You're an old man.
That's how I felt, Brian. I had even my good shoes on. The fact that I'm saying I have good shoes.
Were they Brooks or were they Asics?
They're Hokas or Hakas. I don't know how you say them. What? Who?
Who?
Yep.
It is Hoka.
Okay, Hoka. I had my Hokas on. I was ready. About midway through the night, I just felt my feet hurting, but I was with my very young and youthful nieces, the 2 Utes. And
I am really fighting the urge to hit the Wilford Brimley button a second time.
and like they wanted to keep going. They wanted to close it down, and you saw all the adults just hurting, body soreness. I exercise regularly, but Halloween Horror Nights, Stay and Scream, and then hanging out with youthful people was just hurt my body more than any exercise I've done lately.
Well, so before we get into this game, Rob, you've talked about this event and what it's meant to you in the past. At the end of our newlywed game, we're talking for the most part about Halloween Horror Nights 32. We're talking about 2023's edition of Halloween Horror Nights. However, Rob, you said it's a different event every year, but if you could come back, if you could bring one house back from the dead, what's your favorite house of all time? I would love to hear that answer. We'll save that till the very end of the game, though, so you don't have to answer now. But I would assume, well, I wouldn't assume, I know for a fact that your history of this event is much more extensive than mine, but I do have an answer. I did not get to do Halloween Horror Nights 32 this year, so I'm going to be doing just a lot of question asking for those of our listeners that hopefully want to attend or learn more about the event to attend next year.
Makes me so sad, Brian.
Are we ready to play the Newlywed Horror Nights game?
Yes.
All right. Each of our contestants have things that they can write down on. So, Rob, you're writing down what you think Mark's answer is going to be. And, Mark, you are writing down what you think Rob's answer is going to be. I will do the audio portion of reading what those say, and then you will give your answer when needed. Let's get started. The first, now all these answers should be from Halloween Horror Nights 32, 2023 only. What is your least favorite scare zone? Marky Mark, what are the 5 scare zones?
The scare zones that are playing tonight are Dark Zodiac over on Hollywood Boulevard, Oddfellow Collection of Horror, Jungle of Doom, Shipyard 32, Horror Unhinged, and Vamp 69, Summer of Love.
Nice. Okay, so for those that aren't aware, so yeah, Mark, write down what you think Rob's least favorite scare zone is. Rob, Mark's. A scare zone is something on the streets in between like if you're walking from an attraction to an attraction, it's just kind of an environment, if you will. It's not a true house, but you can literally experience it all night if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I mean, for everyone else playing at home, Dark Zodiac was in Hollywood. Oddfellow Collection of Horror is right there at the entrance of the park at the split in the road. Jungle of Doom is over by the NBC Survey on the way to Animal Actors. Shipyard 32 is over by the Family Ride, Fast and Furious. And then Vamp 69 is in New York.
All right. Rob,
All right.
what have you written down that you expect is Marky Mark's least favorite scare zone?
I was between two. I think, let's see if I'm right. I said Shipyard 32 is Mark's least favorite.
Mark, is he correct?
Sorry, Rob.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
It's my least favorite area to walk through because of how congested it gets.
Yeah, fair enough. What is your least favorite? I'm curious. I am curious.
Okay. My least favorite is going to be Dark Zodiac.
Real? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have nothing but love for Scaretors as a former Scarator, especially. But just there were times where the fog, I couldn't see where I was going, and then it became the street where there was too many. I'm gonna be Wolford Brimley again. Too many social media people just filming and taking pictures, and there wasn't just this. Yeah, they were just slowing things down.
We'll talk about social media and pictures because there's one particular one coming up that I want to ask you guys about. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
Ooh.
No, I was just going to say it's funny. I haven't had that problem that's usually the quietest, I think, scare zone because it's not really on the way to anything. You have to really go out of your way to go to that scare zone.
True. I definitely, now you say that, I did walk around that one a lot. Yeah.
Marky Mark, what did you think was Rob's least favorite scare zone?
I'm gonna go with the one. I'm gonna go the one right by the entry, the Oddfellow. So
it's not up there for me, but I actually I thought we were going to agree. Shipyard 32, I think, was my least favorite. It just doesn't do it for me. That scare zone.
I didn't quite understand the storyline for it at first, but I didn't mind it.
All right. Next question. Your least favorite house. I would Mark, I know you have these notes in front of you. Rob, can you tell us the 10 favorite houses? Mark, fill in any blanks that he may miss.
What the 10 houses are? The Blood Moon house, the Exorcist Believer house.
That sounds terrifying.
Stranger Things 4, Dueling Dragons, Choose Thy Fate, Yeti Campground Kills, Chucky Ultimate Kill Count, Dr. Oddfellow's Origin Tales, The Last of Us, The Darkest Deal, and Monsters Unmasked.
I believe that is all 10 without even stuttering.
No, and he did like the full name. He didn't even cheat.
Nice work. It's like not just Expedition Everest, but Expedition Everest, the Forbidden Mountain. I didn't even get it right.
I love it, man. I love it.
All right. So write down the least favorite house. I don't know what writing it down does other than being more official.
It's fun. It's fun.
It is fun to write it down.
Takes us back
I got this dry erase board I don't get to use often.
Hashtag @piano_Rob on Instagram. All right, we're going to start with Marky Mark this time. First, Marky Mark, what do you think Rob's least favorite house of the 10 is that he's still probably done at least 4 or 5 times?
All right, for Rob's least, I'm going to go Darkest Deal.
You're wrong. I actually enjoy that one.
Oh, good. Okay.
Rob, the correct answer is?
You're going to be surprised. My least favorite house consistently this year, Stranger Things.
That disappoints me tremendously, but I don't want to get caught up in that right now, but I am going to ask you about that later on.
Yep.
So, Rob, what do you think Mark's least favorite house is?
I have a feeling, and I could be wrong, I went with Chucky.
Mark?
Wow, he nailed it. Yep, it's Chucky.
I think we're going to hear more about that house from Rob later on, too. Mark, why does Chucky disappoint in 3 sentences or less?
The queue, the scares, the wait.
I said 3 sentences. You made them short sentences. Fair enough. All right.
Oh, you know me. I'm going to get on a rant. I'm just...
We will move on to the next one. The most overrated house. You may have heard... Now, Rob, this very well could be Stranger Things because I think to call it your least favorite, and my expectations would be high. I would say that can be included here, but I will not answer for you.
I got mine written down for Mark too.
Rob, are you ready to? What is Mark's most overrated house?
All right, I could be wrong, but I did go again, and the hype is big for it. But I said Stranger Things, even for Mark. I think it might be the most overrated that's there.
Yeah, he's right. It's pretty.
I'm so sad.
It's pretty, and scenes are well done from the show, but yeah. So at least with Ghostbusters, you're walking through the movie and they had scares. So my turn.
It is your turn. What is Rob's most overrated house?
I'm gonna say Stranger Things.
You are correct, sir. You are correct.
I am on the board.
All right. We will now move on to the delicious new food. Listen to Diz Life podcast. Mark and I played Eat It or Yeet It around the Disney parks this week. Also, we've probably plugged this already, but on the Disney Creator Corner on the Chip and Company Podcast Network, a feature on Piano Rob. You guys ever heard of that guy? That is now available on the Chip and Company Podcast Network as well. So, Rob, thank you so much for sitting down with me and Mark for that. Thank you sitting down with me and the other Mark for this.
That's what I like to do. I hang out with Bryans and Marks. That's my favorite thing.
All right, Marky Mark, what is Rob's favorite new food from the event?
This was a challenge.
It is.
We'll talk more about it because we kind of, before we hit record, we were talking about just how god awful the lines were this year. But favorite food?
New food or food in general, by the way?
Favorite new food is the question.
New food. Okay, I wanted to make sure. Okay.
I think we're going to kind of use this game as our outline to talk about the event when the game's over. I think that's probably the best
absolutely.
way to go.
New food, the Hawaiian pizza.
So, believe it or not, it's one of the ones I haven't tried yet. So maybe you would have been right, but I haven't gotten to it.
Yeah.
Do you eat when you go to the parks usually for this event?
We usually have at least one or two things
Okay.
every time we go. But like Mark said, and we'll get to it, the lines have been a little crazy and other things. My favorite thing that I've had this year that's new is actually the duck. They have a duck like pot pie thing that's over by where the DeLorean and stuff is, by the Animal Actors stage.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about it earlier. There's another item there that I haven't been able to get yet, even though I tried 3 times. But the duck was it was amazing. It was delicious.
Interesting. Rob, what is Mark's new favorite food item?
And again, I could be wrong because I don't know what he's tried yet. I said the walking taco.
Sounds delicious. Mark looks frozen to me. Is he frozen to you?
He does look frozen, but I thought he could be really deep in thought as well.
Yeah, he's a walking taco. Okay.
Is your favorite food, Mark? Because I don't know what you've tried either. Is it the walking taco?
I don't even know what that is, but it sounds wonderful.
Okay. I had a feeling.
It does sound delicious.
For me, it was the I even tried the hot dog that everybody was fearing over by The Exorcist, but for me, it was the pizza skull.
Oh, okay. All right. I did not consider the pizza skull new because I thought it was the same one they had last year.
Is it old? Okay, then I mean, I'll go with the funfetti hot dog then.
Okay.
So if the pizza skull is old, I'll go with the funfetti hot dog.
Is that twisted potato thing back again this year?
Twisted, always. It's always there.
Okay.
And they've gotten bigger with it. I don't get it, but yeah.
All right.
And I personally, I feel they're soggier, but we'll get into that, I'm sure.
There are 3 shows. Marky Mark, what are the 3 shows?
I actually went with 4 shows.
4 shows.
Yeah. So you had the Death Eaters encounter. That was new. It's over in Diagon Alley. Then you had Nightmare Fuel, Revenge Dream. You had the Megans, and you had Dr. Oddfellow. I'm counting it as a show because, well, he had a stage, he had a microphone, and it was right at the entrance of his little, or in the middle of his scare zone. So a stage and a microphone. I think that's a show.
He doesn't seem as cool as the pumpkin on stilts, but...
Oh my God, the
Pumpkin Lord.
Yeah, that's the one. The Pumpkin
Lord King.
Lord
That's
King.
not Jack Skellington. Yeah.
That's the one.
That kind of
Okay.
looks like the pumpkin candy.
So of the 4 shows, Rob, what is Mark's favorite of the 4?
I am saying Death Eaters.
No.
No, okay, I'm wrong. Okay.
I would have thought it would have been
No.
Death Eaters too. That surprises me.
Me too.
So I went there really excited. And you know, it's cool. Some of those Death Eaters are very friendly. But nah. I was actually underwhelmed. Yeah. So it wasn't as much of a show as I thought.
You weren't just whelmed, but you were underwhelmed.
Yeah. I can't ever just be whelmed. I think in France. For Rob, I'm gonna go the Megans.
I love the Megans, but mine was the Death Eaters. I love that they're there. But what was your favorite? You didn't tell me what your favorite was.
Mine. Okay. So I actually never saw a full Megan show because honestly, if it wasn't for TikTok, I wouldn't have known they existed because I went to all their different locations, never saw them.
This is
So
what I
it was
want to ask about. Like talking about like social media people like just kind of camping out and not being able to get close to see it. Rob, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't know it existed.
See, and I got lucky. One of the cool things that I think about this event is they don't give you set times for some of the things. You kind of have to be in the right place at the right time because they don't want to draw crowds. And I got very lucky. I think it was the first night we went that I happened to be there when the Megans came out. Like there was a little bit of a crowd. I'm like, what are these people here? And the Megans came out. And I'm sure some people have seen this. If you haven't seen the TikTok I made, I only heard the High School Musical song in it, and it matches up perfectly. And I had to do it. But it's just cool. It's cool. They look incredible. The dance number fits. It's perfect for the movie and for the event.
I'll go into longer thoughts on the shows, but Dr. Oddfellow, that was just a cute little like setup and everything. Honestly, since Bill and Ted's left, I think the shows have just been lacking. So yeah.
Agreed.
All right. The best looking of the 10 houses. What's just scenery wise, just how pretty it is.
Yep.
What
set
is
pieces?
Yeah.
Effects. I feel like they had a lot of effects. The costumes, just everything. So
I would love to hear your gold standard of this one too. Like just the best set pieces you've ever seen in a Halloween Horror Nights house. Maybe not just this year. I'd love to hear that answer too if you guys have it. Mark, what do you think Rob thinks the best looking house is this year?
Best looking for Rob. What is the Rob standard of houses this year? I'm gonna go with Dueling Dragons.
You are correct, sir. Dueling Dragons is a fantastic set.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll get into it. If you're a fan of the old ride that was at Islands of Adventure, they did it justice. It's all castle pieces, huge dragons. It's phenomenal.
That's cool.
Yep.
Rob, what do you think Mark thinks the best looking house
I
is?
went with the Blood Moon house for Mark.
Believe it or not, that was my number 2 choice. It almost was my number 1. It was my number 1 up until the last night I went.
Which was unseated by
Dueling Dragons.
Dueling Dragons. Okay.
Just seeing the lighting effects through the house, like the spells being cast, and then the 2 big dragons. Just, I thought that was well done and creative.
Where is Dueling Dragons located in the park?
Towards the front, right after the Jimmy Fallon entrance.
Okay, so where Poltergeist and Stranger Things used to be, in that
yes,
area.
Yes, that same area. But between
or where
between
Yeti was a few years ago, I guess. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Favorite scare zone. Doesn't sound like it's Shipyard 32 for either one of you. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that one. Rob, what do you think Marky Mark's favorite scare zone is?
I have a feeling we're going to be, well, we'll see, Vamp 69.
And I have a feeling for Rob, it's 69.
Yes, sir. Are we both right?
Yeah.
This scare zone by far is above and beyond all the rest of them. And the biggest thing that it's the only thing actually, Mark, well, this is like a little complaint I have about this year's event. It's really the only good music of the entire event. Sometimes you get other good music in other places. It's all 60s music, hippie vampires.
Who do you think you are to complain about music?
In years past, we had so much good music. You had the Ghostbusters theme, where you had Never Ending Story. This year, the music is really lacking. Like, even when you get to The Last of Us, it's the slow acoustic guitar, like from the game. Like, there's no this zone, just it kicks.
The only thing I wish is that, and I was thinking of the Robert Rodriguez movie From Dusk Till Dawn. I wish they would have had like a vampire band on the stage. Like, they might not have had to be playing, but just doing something on the stage, that would have been cool. I did enjoy that the whole park erupted whenever Sweet Caroline came on.
Yes.
I'm picturing this being in front of the Mummy. Is that where this one is?
That's exactly where it is.
Because it sounds like the New Year's one they did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Funny little story that you guys will both appreciate, since Mark just said that. Me and Allie were leaving the event like 2 times ago that we had gone. We're stopped right in front of the parking garage as we're leaving. Sweet Caroline comes on the radio in my car, and the employees for Universal, the landscaping crew, are cutting down branches of a tree with chainsaws. So I'm in the car leaving the event like we're still there with Sweet Caroline and chainsaws. It was amazing. Allie took a video of it. It's great.
Rob, you're saying Allie. Didn't something very special just happen with you and Allie recently? What was it?
Well, again, it's not just my favorite event. It's her favorite event. It's our Christmas. So we got engaged before the first going of the season. It was wonderful.
You romantic.
I guess I won't be able to quaff that hair anymore. That's fine. It's fine. Congratulations.
That's very exciting, Rob. Congratulations.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to the next one. The scariest house. The house that you were terrified the most in. It may not even be a good terrified. I think I already know what my answer would be, having not attended the event. But there's one that's just too real world scary for me. Marky Mark, what do you think Rob thinks the scariest house is?
For Rob, the scariest house.
Rob, do you even get scared anymore at these things?
I get jumpy at times.
Okay.
Where are you? I'm gonna go Exorcist.
That was my number 2.
Okay, number 2.
Monsters Unmasked is still my scariest.
That was like, I loved that house so much.
I'm with you. I thought for you, I said Exorcist as well, that you would be the scariest for you.
Blood Moon. Every time they were on point.
Okay.
I love the story of it and everything. Blood Moon.
That would have been 3rd for me, but I agree. We're in the same ballpark. These are the scariest ones.
Huh. Yeah, Exorcist. No, thank you. No, thank you.
All three. I didn't take the kids into any of those. Like just knowing for the first time for the kids, like those, I'm not even going near these.
Yeah, that's the right choice.
I think for underrated, that's not one of our questions, right?
No.
I think for underrated, Monsters Unleashed would get my vote if we did an underrated house.
All right. Let's talk favorite house. For whatever reason, it's your absolute favorite. Rob, what do you think Marky Mark's favorite house of the event is?
Knowing the fan he is of these parks, I think Dueling Dragons is his favorite this year.
It is a top 3.
Ooh,
I'm so sorry. It was pretty. It even had the choose your own ending, and that was great. So here's a hot take. Every year I feel like I can tell you my favorite house. This year it was kind of a challenge. And I don't know if that's saying like it was a good strong year that they were all close to each other, but it was actually very challenging for me to pick a favorite house. But I'm going to go Blood Moon for my favorite house.
All right. Doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
All right. Marky Mark, what about for Rob? What's his favorite house?
Hang on. I'm having technical difficulties with my phone or my pen. Here we go. I'm going to go with Betty the Yeti.
It is my number 2. I thought it was going to be my number 1 because I love Yeti. But dude, second year in a row, that Monsters house has my heart and my soul. It's amazing.
Good choice.
I love it.
Good choice.
Rob, favorite house ever at Halloween Horror Nights?
So my favorite house to date ever, and this is why I know Mark probably told it, was the last Yeti, Terror of the Yukon.
So did they reuse a lot of the set pieces? I've done that one.
Universal is great in general at repurposing stuff. So the Yeti costumes are pretty much always going to be the same. The set pieces, some yes, some no, because they move them around to different houses. Like the Exorcist house this year is the same house as the Halloween house. Like that's their house setup. But they put the props in different places. The scares are different, but they do repurpose their props excellently.
Okay. So the Yeti from 2018, 2019, that's your favorite house of all time?
I think it was 19. That house was great. We had fun every time.
What was most surprising about that house to me was how not dark inside it was. It was very lit up.
Yeah, and they still got me.
Yeah. Marky Mark, Rob, we're going to come back to you on the best looking house of all time. But Marky Mark, what's your favorite house of all time?
For me, it's going to be the Dead Silence house. That's what brought me to Orlando. It's what got me a job in the theme park world and to meet so many wonderful people. So Dead Silence.
All right. I'm a sucker for IP. The Ghostbusters, actually the Stranger Things 1 house is really what got me to the event for the first time. I thought that one was actually really fun. Ghostbusters was a blast. I thought Beetlejuice was incredible. I loved the Beetlejuice house. So those are the 3 that I remember the most. I'm a sucker for that. Stranger Things 1. They had Poltergeist that year. It was good. I'm a sucker for IP though. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. I actually really liked that Inside of the Pumpkin one from 2021 as well. The
great,
pumpkin.
Too,
yeah, I thought that one was good. The Subway one last year was good. There's been so many good ones, but I haven't been to the event as many times as you guys. Rob, best looking house, best just what they did with the set pieces, just everything. What's the best one you've ever seen?
And it's funny because my memory, it fades. That's the other thing about this.
Right.
And I didn't always go as many times. And in a lot of years before 2019, 2018, I'd go once or twice maybe. So I don't remember them all as well. But I think there was a 3D Wonderland house, just to give honorable mention to, a couple of years ago that was great. But I think the staple in recent years has become that Dead Man's Pier house that they did, the something wharf. That house stepped it up to another level of people just enjoying set design, I feel. And now I think you're going to see a house like that every year where they really do a big set design. I feel like it's kind of Blood Moon-ish this year. But yeah, that Dead Man's Pier one was really good.
Yeah, that was a great one. Mark, what about you? One that you remember just thinking, I can't believe how pretty this is.
You said it with Ghostbusters, just stepping into the firehouse. Shout out to the Shining house. I may think the movie is overrated, but the Shining house was beautiful. And you brought it up, Poltergeist was amazing, but the 2007, the big house that year, you had Leatherface, Jason, and Freddy. And Freddy went to a sleep clinic. It was almost Dream Warriors-ish. And that was intense. So, but you said it. When they get an IP, they nail it.
Yeah. Well, they didn't nail it, it sounds like. I want to start right there. Rob called it his least favorite and the most overrated house. Stranger Things. This is an IP they should nail. What happened?
So the set is good. I don't want to take anything away from the set design. It's not my favorite Stranger Things house. I think when they did the second one with the Scoops Ahoy and the Mind Flayer and all that, I think that house was much better done.
Yeah, the mall was really well done for that.
The mall was really good. You're missing a lot of characters from Stranger Things in this season. I don't know if can we give little spoiler alerts, or should I not tell who's missing? I don't know what we're doing.
Oh, yep, we got to give a spoiler alert.
If you're going and want to be totally surprised, stop listening. But
Or
We're
skip
trying to
ahead.
give you most of we can about the event. So spoiler ahead,
Yeah.
Rob.
Yep.
There's no Hopper, there's no Joyce, there's no Will, there's no Jonathan, there's no Mike. Like that, you're missing so many of the characters of the show.
Yep.
Most of your scares are Vecnas. There's only 2 Demogorgons, and honestly, I've missed their scares most of the time. They're not there.
The
So
last one is like good.
it's
The one
great
that-
if it gets you. I have it. It never
Yeah.
gets me. I'm always missing it. I
So
feel like there should be more actors.
It's a lot of grandfather clocks and Vecnas, huh? That's what the house is.
Basically, there's one room that's visually beautiful because it's that scene where you're looking into the upside down. So above you is one room and you're in another. That like
I love
visually, that stuff is great.
Everyone goes crazy for them in the upside down when it's them on top of the trailer doing the Metallica song.
Another great scene. Yes, that's the other great scene. You have Eddie and Dustin at one point, and both of them played to my youngest son yesterday, which was amazing. The whole time we were in that room, he was dressed in his Dustin shirt. He had the hat, the thinking cap, and they played to him.
See, like I said, I'm a sucker for IP. You're just talking about this. I still feel like I'd fall for it.
And I love that, the costumes look great. And Bryan, Random Rushmore.
The game where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
I'm evil and I'm gonna be even more evil on this one. So for all of our listeners at home, Bryan is smart, thinks of things very quickly, so I like to stump him whenever I can with a random rushmoring. Rob, this is also for you, and this is for you both. Should you choose to accept this random rushmore, well, you don't have a choice. You're on the show. I want to know your top 4 costumes of all time from your kids. So not 4 each. I want to know your top 4 costumes that your children have done.
Okay.
Come on, Papa Bears.
My first one that comes to mind is my son was 4. My daughter was 2, 3. No, they're 2 years apart. So she was 2. My wife had sewed some pillowcases together, stuffed them, made her round, so she was a boulder and he was Indiana Jones.
Love it.
When she was only like 6 months, she was the Wasp and he was Ant-Man.
Ooh.
Let's see, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas, or Not So Scary Halloween Party. Ray would have been like a year and a half, so that would have put the other kids. We were all Avengers, but Ray was she had a white pot that she stuck her legs through, could walk around, but she was Potted Plant Groot. And 4 would be, I guess I got to include Parker too. I got 4 kids. I got to at least have one of each. Last year she was just an adorable little pig with a little curly tail and a tutu.
Oh, that's cute. Rob,
I wrote him down quick.
I
wrote him down quick so I wouldn't forget. One year we did the Avengers, so Robbie was Captain America and Roman was Hulk, which was great.
Cute.
We did Mary Poppins one year, where, like I was a chimney sweep Bert. Robbie was like when they're in the painting Bert with like the colorful jacket, and Roman was still little, so he was a penguin.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's got to be a penguin in there. That's awesome.
Yep. And then one year with their cousins, they all went as different Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one year we did Peter Pan. Robbie had, again, they were very little, so Robbie had this great Captain Hook costume, and Roman was the crocodile, TikTok croc.
I thought you were gonna play off the Pudge and make him Mr. Smee.
No, he was too little. He was still too little, so it was funnier to have him as in a croc outfit, and we put a clock on him. It was great.
That's awesome.
I'm going to give a shout out to one of my nieces for 1 year going as the DJ Marshmallow. Did I have to look up who that DJ was? Yes.
Yeah,
did I learn of this DJ
Good morning.
because of her? Yes.
I'm Wilfred Brimley, and I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about diabetes.
You're old.
Anyways, thank you all for playing my random Rushmore of
Great.
what was your favorite kid's costume?
Great one.
But yes, that was Stranger Things. Interesting set pieces, but just felt like we had seen it before with wait times when it's between 90 minutes and 2.5 hours.
It hit 200 yesterday. 200
saw
minutes.
that. So I definitely like told my family I'm glad we did stay and scream for this one. It and like you said, I loved the 1 year where you're walking into the house to Never Ending Story playing. Now, granted, being the young hip person I was walking into this house, spoiler alert, having Chrissy Wake Up stuck in my head
I love that
because
song
of
so
it.
much.
Chrissy, wake up! I don't like this! Chrissy, wake up! Hey, hello? Tucker, wake up, Tucker, wake up. Can you hear me? Wake up, Chrissy! I don't like this! Chrissy, wake up!
That's all I kept thinking when I went through the first room.
So there's been 3 Stranger Thing houses. There was 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Which is, Rob, it sounded like you said 2, 3 was your favorite of the 3.
Yeah, 2, 3, then 1, then 4 in that order.
Same order, Marky Mark?
Yep.
All right.
He gets me.
All right.
I mean, not when we're playing a dating game, but in this case, he gets me.
We should go back to playing the gating game. I didn't play the last question. The icons. Mark, how many icons are there, and who is the other person's favorite?
There are a lot of icons. Sorry for all of you Horror Nights fans.
There's not usually that many icons, are there?
They used to do them every year, and then they took a break, and then they just kept recycling Jack here and there, and then there was the year where they had all of them. This year it was Dr. Oddfellows. I mean, I liked him. He was new. They kept it very distinct and distant from a certain Disney villain, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But I liked his little show. I love how he warmed up the crowds that were ready to tear down the entrance gates. So I think he was a fresh villain.
Okay. So are we playing favorite icon of them all, or are we just talking about whether we like him or not?
Favorite? Oh man, favorite icon. Rob, do you know your favorite icon off the bat?
I think I do, but it's not really a surprise. There's one that just he makes the event.
That being?
That's Jack. It has to be Jack. I mean, it's nothing against. He is just such a face of this event that and I can think of all of them. There's Chance, there's the director, there's the usher, there's the storyteller. There's so many good ones. Is it the Gravedigger, or is he called something else?
Little Cindy. Oh, the caretaker. Yeah,
the caretaker. There's so many good with the Terror Queen.
Yeah, I think actually mine's gonna be the usher. I just love the idea of just him taking people through a horror movie house. I always thought they had a missed opportunity where the usher was working the premiere of the director's film, and that could have been a really great house to combine the two icons. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the usher for my favorite icon.
Do you guys know one of my dreams in life is I would love to be a Horror Nights icon?
Ooh, oh my God! We get you a piano that spits fire.
Mark, this isn't a half-baked idea. I have the whole character. It's all in there. I just.
What is his name? Does he have a name?
He's the organist, and he harvests organs and he plays the organ, and it's just genius. And I would be out there like the way Oddfellow is out there, or the Pumpkin King, even though the Pumpkin Lord is not an icon, but the way he was out there, put me out there, I would do it. I would make up songs. I would do it. I would have the best time of my life, and it would be a killer icon.
I just need to know, if you have a scare zone, is it going to be dead, famous pianists like you're going to see Mozart, Elton John, and
Elton John's not dead yet, man.
If they did like they did for Oddfellow, where he's in one place but the other scare zones are still themed for him, of course that would be an excellent one of oh my God, that would be so much fun.
Universal?
Yeah, this would be awesome.
They're gonna steal it. I'm almost afraid that I said it out loud now, because I feel like they're just gonna take it and just give it to somebody else that's not me.
I know. Well, Universal, if you would like to talk to Piano Rob about this idea, please contact United We Fan on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. We will handle all communication.
Hang on,
until the artist.
Let's rewind and cut that. Rob's character is called the and he would play the and he would do There we go.
And his scare zone would have lots of...
Perfect.
Yes.
Worst game of
Rob, that
Mad
was
Libs
such a
ever.
great idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we talked to icons.
No. Hang on. Brian, what would your icon? Let's play that game. Brian, what would your Horror Nights icon be if you had to come up with something real quick?
A very sad Denver Broncos fan.
Oh my God. 50 and 20th Street.
Ooh, 70th and 20th
70, sorry.
Street. While Broncos fans wallow in their self-pity, this is a perfect time to hear from our sponsors.
Is Disney World home to you? Realtor Victor Naraki can help make it a reality. Realtor Victor Naraki specializes in making your Disney home dreams come true. Second homes, investment homes, retirement, relocation. With Victor's input, he will show you the home opportunities that you don't get to see as a tourist. Imagine being at the park in minutes, walking around the World Showcase for daily exercise, watching the fireworks in your own backyard, or having Disney Springs as your local mall. Have you ever heard of Windermere, Winter Garden, Horizon West, Dr. Phillips, Claremont, Lake Nona, or Disney's own Celebration and Golden Oak? Victor will introduce you to these communities, which are just minutes to the magic. Stop imagining a Disney life and start living your dream today. Call Victor at 407-340-9375. And don't forget to mention that you heard all about Victor here on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. Head over to celebratingflorida.com and start living your magical life today.
Anyway, did you guys say, it seems like we probably covered the scare zones to the point where we wanted to cover the scare zones. Anything more you want to say about those?
I don't think it was a strong year for scare zones. Once again, I love the scaretors, but I don't think it was a strong year.
There is that one in the trees over by Animal Actors. That's usually...
That got people.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, for the smallest street, that got people.
What is it this year?
I was going to add, that's Jungle of Doom.
Okay.
Yeah.
They normally decorate it with the very cool pumpkin lights, but this year they did these bats with the bat eyes, and they do all change color now and then, which is a very cool effect. I also do love the level of the fog in there, because there are times you can't see in front of you, which personally, that's what I want. That's what makes it scary. I like that you're taking my vision away a little.
Rob, I had a scooter that luckily, usually it annoys me when they're honking their horn, but they were honking. I couldn't see anything. I ended up having to step to the side and jump on the side of the scooter a little bit. I was like, I'm so sorry. And she took a couple feet to stop. She luckily stopped. But yeah, I had to jump on to get out of her way.
That's funny.
So we talked least favorite houses. Stranger Things was Rob's. Mark, what was your least favorite house? Chucky. Okay, let's talk Chucky. We talked Stranger Things. Let's talk Chucky. Rob, I know this is near the top of your list, correct?
Middle. I'll say middle.
Oh,
of the
okay,
road,
I thought you
Chucky.
liked it more than that. Okay.
I do like it. It's not. It's nothing. It's nothing against Chucky. There's just so many things that I think are really great.
Is it based off the new Chucky television show, or is it kind of bringing in all the movies together?
It's based on the new show. So first of all, I think you need to be a Chucky fan, and it's seasons 1 and 2 on the show. But this is where I think the creativity comes in that I personally like, that I just don't know if people are missing it. And I will say this off the bat, it is not a very scary house, in my opinion. But the point of the house is Universal made this house for Chucky based on the TV series. They invited Chucky to see the house. Chucky hates the house. He wants to up the kill count. So he takes over the house. He starts killing the people that are working the house. That's the point of the house. And that aspect of it is such a Chucky thing. I think it's fantastic.
Feels to me like they overthought it. Mark, it's your least favorite. Is that what they potentially did for you?
So Rob's elevator pitch is spot on, and that sounds like a great house. Problem is, and it was the Blumhouse last year, you have the queue outside, and you're like, oh my god, that's such a long queue. Okay,
this is at Fast and the Furious, right?
Yes, on the side street there, where the Megans supposedly perform. And then you go into Then you go into the family backyard of the auto mechanic warehouse. Then you're like, okay, getting closer. Then you go into this giant car garage warehouse, and you see more queue. So you're already in a bad mood. But luckily they have videos in there. You're like, okay, you know what you're getting into.
See, last year it worked because it was actually 2 houses in one. So you at least felt like you were getting your wait times worth. Sorry.
Hang on. And then you go into a smaller room where the party buses stored. So you're like, oh my God, there's one more bleeping room. Okay.
That's the best room, by the way, though. Best AC in the whole event.
Best air conditioning.
Is that room.
It gets bonus points for that. So then you finally go into the house, and there's like a little puppet Chucky there, which I actually loved. The little puppet Chucky.
It's an animatronic, and it's fantastic. That's one of the best animatronics I've ever seen Universal do.
It reminded me when they did the Street Zone or the Scare Zone where they had the Chucky show in it. That was cool. So you go through the first house, and I've seen seasons 1 and 2, so I was up to date. And about midway through, everybody thinks the house is over. And I was at first pissed. I was just like, I waited all that for that. Then you go through.
Could you say you did say mother?
Well played, Bryan. I think, you go through the first house, then there's a gap, then you go through the second house. So Bryan, like you remember with Blumhouse, it's 2 houses in one.
Yeah, it was.
So it is
what
a longer
was the first
house.
one? It was something, and then it was the phone call. But
it was black phone and
black phone. Yeah. But it was like 2 legit separate houses.
What was it? Black phone and death date? No,
it was a name. It was a word. It was like a
stand by,
it was a
listeners.
name.
The old men are trying to remember it.
Yeah, I know. I'm blanking now.
I'll look it up. But anyway, so there was the split between the houses, but it was still one house.
So still one big house with an intermission, and then you go through the second one, and my nieces didn't find it scary. It has some cool effects in it. The concept of the house, cool. The storyline for the house,
Freaky and black phone. Freaky was the Freaky was the Vince Vaughn like Freaky Friday type of deal. Yeah.
But it right away was my least favorite house, least scariest house, and it didn't gain any ground throughout the run.
It's too bad. Do you think part of it is it's such a big queue line. It's becoming one of the places where they put the top 2 or 3 houses, right? Just because it's such a big queue line. Because Chucky's supposed to be one of the top 2 or 3, isn't it?
Stranger Things, and then The Last of Us is in the parade building way behind Men in Black.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would say Chucky's the 3rd for wait times this season.
Okay.
Yeah, you might not be wrong there.
Rob, are you caught up on the show? Did it at least feel true to the show?
I mean, it was true to the show, and even the show makes fun of itself. If you watch the show, Chucky kind of at the end of certain episodes, it's like him talking to you, and he'll have like guests, like he's interviewing them. So in that aspect, I thought in general it's very true to the show, and it's true to Chucky, but it's certainly not it's not the scariest. So if you're looking for the scariest, you're going to be disappointed. But I think it's fun.
I want to see the animatronic. Last year, we knew Chucky was coming this year because they made a future announcement that Chucky was coming next year. Did they make any announcement this year of next year's house? Have they done anything like that this year?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm guaranteeing there'll be a Monsters house again.
Because there was a Chucky like box that you could take a picture in last year. Like that's kind of
which they don't have up this year, which I thought was kind of funny since they do have the Chucky house.
They have the house. Yeah.
And there's always going to be a Monsters house. Monsters is that's the traditional Universal. They should always have a Monsters house, and that's always one of the best houses, if not the best house.
Can we also bring up the attire that Rob and Allie got engaged in was Chucky and Tiffany?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Chucky and Bride of Chucky.
You dressed as Tiffany? That's so cool.
Yeah, I think we're alone now.
Oh, come on, Rob.
The Last of Us. I think the show is absolutely brilliant. I thought it was made to be a Halloween Horror Nights house. This is like legit the first time we're discussing the house as a whole, other than its music. So, Rob, what about the Last of Us house?
Oh, Bryan, we're going to have to break your heart, though.
Yeah, it's based on the video game,
I know.
Not the TV show.
Yeah, I didn't. I did know that. I knew it was the PlayStation version, yes.
Which think they put that little symbol on it real small in the front of the house to let people know.
Yeah, but I mean, the show was pretty good to the video game. So all things considered, it's a similar story, at least.
Rob, I liked the music, the little guitar thing. I thought that got me pumped for the house.
You know what? You got to remember, in years past, though, like it was the weekend last year. It was a dance party in that queue. So
I
go back
I
there,
hated
and
that house. I thought the weekend house was a disaster.
It grew on me.
Oh,
It really
and
did.
And before that, it was the Netflix one, Haunting of Hill House.
Hill
or
House,
whatever.
which
Hill
that
House
was a creepy one.
Hill House was good, but my problem with the weekend is I don't really. I mean, I guess I know his music, but I don't follow like his music videos and the stories he was telling, and that like he was building up to that house for years for his fans, and I just wasn't one of them.
I'm just glad the Billie Eilish house didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna. We'll see what happens in the future. But
They would just
listen,
have a bunch of references to The
Last of Us, if you are not a fan of the game, I think it's already going to be knocked down a little bit of a notch for you because it does follow along with the game. Even the way some of the characters early on jump out, it's very video game-esque. When you finally get to see some of the zombies, there's a great clicker room. You see the first bloater. Like, if you're a fan of the game, I think you're going to love this house. I think it's true to it that way. If you're not, don't wait the 100 minutes. I think there's other places you might want to spend your time.
All right. Mark, anything else on that?
It was the only house that was underposted. So bravo to our wait time posters. Rob said it best. It was really great, but I admit I only did it twice just because that wait time for it was killer. But yeah, I thought set direction and all that, looked amazing. You definitely felt like you stepped into that world. Although the clips I've seen from the one in Hollywood, they had elements that I wish we would add here.
Always, sadly.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel that way about Chucky in Hollywood too. Like I've watched some of those walkthroughs. They seem to do it a little better in California.
Nobody does it better.
Rob, I'm going to say 2 words. I'm going to let you wax poetic. Monsters Unmasked.
Listen, man, this house, it gets better. It's fantastic. The monsters they picked this year are great. Invisible Man, Phantom of the Opera, the Hunchback, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The Mr. Hydes, if you get hit with all of them, are some of the scariest monsters that they've put. There is a fantastic Hunchback scare that they actually have him on a bungee, and he just starts going towards you, and he starts falling. You don't know what's going to happen, and it catches him as he's falling, and right before he gets you. They also do the best, and this is the key for me, it's the best team scares every single year. And there's a couple of different ones, but there's this big one towards the end where you get hit with Phantom, then hides right here in your face, and you think you're going to escape it. The Invisible Man comes out. They always do a crazy triple scare. They did it last year with Dracula and the Wolfman and the Mummy. They just kill it. So it's unbelievable. It's the scariest. The makeup, the mask. It's scary. It gets me every time. I love it.
The Invisible Man. You could say you didn't see it coming.
I see what you
did.
Play it,
Bryan. Play it.
Mark, what do you think of Monsters Unmasked?
Beautiful house. It was in my top half categories, just like the other monster houses. Rob's right. That Mr. Hyde character, oh my God. Like, I went through it again last night. I just kept looking at it going, you're really effing scary, man.
Is the Hunchback on the bungee, because it's the same building where they did Trick or Treat and stuff a few years ago. They did the one with the witch in the storybooks. The witch was on a rope or a bungee. Is that kind of right at the entrance there? Is that where it's the same house where Beetlejuice was?
There's no flying bungee this year. I know what you're talking about, where they kind of swing. They did that with Bride of Frankenstein. They did. Yep. There's none of that. He's literally just there, and it's like he's going to fall on you. You think he's going to fall on you.
That's awesome.
And you're not expecting it. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
And I mean, stepping in there, you have the police constable warning you all to stay off the streets in France. And then the Phantom. Is that the Phantom who's talking to him, like taunting him, or the Invisible Man? It's the Invisible Man.
It took us a
Okay.
couple of times because then at some point you hear a voice next to you. He can't see who's talking to him because it's the Invisible Man. It took me and they do a fake rain in that first room that you feel like you're outside walking in this gloomy rain. You get hit with a little AC, a little wet rain. It sets the mood. I love it.
It definitely gets my vote for most underrated. I see that wait time kind of low a lot, so please go to that one.
It's always low because it's not. It's too scary. The people want to go to the friendly ones. They want to go to the Chucky. They want to go to the Stranger Things. That one is legitimate scary, and I think younger people don't have that monster attachment.
You did not take your boys to that one.
No.
What are the most? So you took your boys. They went to 3 houses. The most quote unquote family friendly of the 3. What were the 3 houses you took them to?
Stranger Things, Dueling Dragons, and except for the language and the blood, but I'm still going to say Chucky.
Okay.
Ooh, God, Rob.
But
just from a fear standpoint,
like Mark said, it's not scary. So unless unless they're actually scared by the doll, which my kids are not past that point, and they're 10 and 11. They know what words are bad words that they shouldn't say and what's not. If they're going to see it for fun value, I don't mind it. If they went to school the next day and started saying some of the stuff, then we're having a different story. But I know that they can appreciate it for what it is. And like I said, it wasn't too scary. Every other house, there's something in there that I would be fearful it's too much for them. It's not worth it.
That they're going to keep them. That's going to keep them out of bed at night and kind of keep them awake. That's fair.
Exactly.
Bryan, is there a time frame in your mind when you're going to bring your kiddos?
Oh, not for a bit. My kids still get pretty scared at stuff pretty easily. So
and by the way, little disclaimer, I wouldn't do this if we didn't go as much as we did. Like we scoped out this event many nights as we do every year. We very specifically choreographed the night of exactly what the kids would like, and I'm so proud of us all. We did it brilliantly. It was just it was the best family thing I think we've ever done.
Rob, are you okay sharing like how old your kids are? That way, if parents are listening.
I said it. My boys are 10. Yeah, they're 10 and 11. My boys.
Okay.
But don't just take them like you can do it. There's more wrong ways to do it than right ways to do it with kids that age.
Way many wrong ways. I saw a family pushing a stroller through a scare zone a couple years ago. I
see that every night, Bryan. Every single
night.
It's crazy to me.
Yep.
We are stuck.
They get mad at the scare actor when they scare them. I'm like, that's what you're here for.
But most of the scare actors love playing along with the kids. They don't want you to not want to come back. Right. I think that a lot of them are very good at kind of knowing what to do for who. Like they see a group of high schoolers, they're going to scare them. But if they see a kid, they want the kid to feel safe and be approachable.
Yeah. Yeah, the scare actors, man, like as good as theme park cast members, team members come. Like they're absolutely fantastic, except for that one guy that did Dead Reckoning or whatever, Dead Silence a few years ago. But I know we're stuck on houses, but I want to keep talking about them. Rob, your favorite? You talked about Yeti, like the Yeti campground. What was so good about that one?
Yeti is always fun. Because first of all, the Yetis are just great. They're scary, but they're fun. I feel like they're fun, scary, and they'll get you. There's some big guys. There's one scene that I like this year where there's like a camper that comes out to investigate something, and then the Yeti comes out and gets the camper and pulls the camper away, and she's like yelling, it's like it's always a fun house. I feel very safe in Yeti, even though it's these big monsters. I don't know. Speak to that, Mark. I don't know if there's more to say.
They're mythical. They're mythical enough, right? Maybe that's what it is.
According to Marshall and How I Met Your Mother, they're real. But the first Yeti house, unlike Rob, it took a while to grow on me. I did not understand the love for that house. This house, I loved it right away. But it has one of the most horrifying death scenes of any house in a long time. I'm just gonna, listeners, here comes a graphic warning. I'm gonna just talk in a lower voice so that it doesn't come off as horrifying as you're listening to.
You're talking in a lower voice, but you're closer to the mic, so it's actually a louder
voice. You sound louder.
I'm so sorry. Oh my God, technology. So there's unfortunately a child Yeti that won't be making it home to mom and dad Yeti. A camper who in his mind was doing the right thing and was brave, killed the child Yeti. I'm sorry, everyone.
Is that
But
why mom and dad
if
Yeti are just ticked off?
no, it's like a couple of scenes in. But if you're Team Yeti, the Yetis get revenge and take out that kid who celebrates a little too early and is standing over the body, and then a big giant Yeti comes and takes him out.
This
So,
sounds awesome.
Revenge of the Yeti.
Marky
Episode
Mark.
3 next year.
Marky Mark, Blood Moon.
Okay, so near the beginning of the park, usually has the lowest wait time. I think it's just because the location, it's not really near other houses and things to do. I get an M. Night Shyamalan.
Is it that
haunted,
very front one where they used to have killer clowns and stuff right across from Bourne? Is that the
No,
No.
before it. It's after the store on the left and before you get to Minions. There's that
that's
street there.
That's a new key
That's where
line
you go
area.
in and then you go into a soundstage queue.
They've used it before, like years ago for Dusk Till Dawn. They don't always use it, but the cool thing is you get to walk up right by old Nickelodeon Studios.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like on your way to what used to be Blue Man Group, right? Like that's where you would go for that.
You're walking between that and Rip Ride Rockets queue.
Okay.
So just the red moon visual, you have several scenes where are they real, aren't they real? You even have like little kid puppets playing Ring Around the Rosie under the red moon. It just every scare worked every time. It wasn't like there was an off night or anything, but like I said, it felt like a rare good M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Rob, anything else on Blood Moon?
Yes, they have a couple of things that I really like that he hit on is like there's one scene where you're walking through like a church and there's people sitting in the church. You don't know who's a real scare actor and what's a mannequin that's there. Like those rooms always really get me because the rooms are kind of big and you don't know who's going to jump out at you when. And I think there's 2 or 3 of those types of rooms.
Yeah.
That really is the most disconcerting part of any of these houses is when you get into a room you're like, there should not be a room this size in a building this small. Like, how is this possible? Where's the scare coming from?
Yes.
Well, you even have it at the end there. To get out, you have to walk through a room of people in cloaks, and you're going, nope.
And this was an original concept, correct? This was not.
Yeah, original.
Yes. And they did a great, again, they did a fantastic job. And just in general, I'm not even sure if there's one in this house. I want to shout out the projections that they've done this year in scare zones and in houses. They've really stepped up their game where you'll see a shadow projection of something happening that fits perfectly and it really grabs your attention.
Yes.
Dueling Dragons. Rob.
I love the choose your ending.
Oh,
really?
That's cool. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. No, Rob, go ahead. Did you know like there's a different winner like every other hour or something like that?
I do know that here. So I have chosen correctly where you get if you choose correct, Merlin's narrating.
Wait. You could say you've
house.
chosen wisely.
You've chosen, yes. That's basically what happens. If you pick the right way, you get one scare either way, and then if you picked right, Merlin comes out. Yep. Now, I know something else happens if you pick wrong, but every time I've picked wrong, I seem to be getting the switch. I haven't gotten another scare or whoever should be where Merlin is. So I still have missed that no matter how many times I've gone through.
You saw Merlin's head though, right? When you got wrong?
No, see, that's what I haven't done yet. That's what the scary one is.
Merlin gets murdered?
If you lose, if you pick the wrong one, he gets murdered. That's what I've heard, and I haven't seen it. Like Mark said, though, the costumes are crazy. They if you're passing the ice demons, they have these body suits that light up with different blue, and then same thing for the red. There's so much stuff going on in that house. And again, if you're a fan of the old Dueling Dragons ride, it's that nice little touch for the big fans.
Where in the park is this one located?
Next to, so you go to the New York
between
Public
Yeti
Library.
and yeah, right there.
You go to the New York Public Library, just past Fallon, and then you got Dragon's Entrance on the left and Yeti on the right.
Poltergeist area.
And I mean, the house, you got the 2 dragons, somewhat like the entrance of the area, the ride. That was really cool. I think my only gripe is that the characters had the lights on their chest, and when they went back into their boo hole, I wish they could have turned it off so you didn't know they were there.
Yeah.
So
I
you
agree.
kind of like saw the glow from the light and you're like, oh, they're right there. So
Motion activated. That'd be awesome.
or even click on. But they cast spells and you see lights light up in the walls whenever they're shooting fire and ice at each other. So that was cool.
That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't think we talk about all 10, but we got close. Any other houses you want to feel like we need to talk about?
Honestly, the only two I think we didn't really talk about is the Dr. Oddfellow Origin Tales and The Darkest Deal, which is basically a musician sells his soul to the devil.
I love both
it's a
of
little
those
close to
houses,
home,
by the
though,
way.
huh, Mark? Or huh, Rob? It's a little close to home there.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, it was. It's very. I think it's a cool house. There's a guy when you first walk in that's kind of like the devil with the contract, and then like the name appears, kind of the way Ariel appears on Ursula's contract in Little Mermaid. Like it just kind of writes itself, and you're like, how does it do that? Also, outside that house, it's the old Shrek outhouse, which they talk about repurposing stuff. It fits perfectly. I made a video on that too because it blew my mind. It was great. But another. It's a cool house. It's middle of the roadish for me. Some days are better, but I enjoy it.
And that house has another one of those rooms where you're like, who's real, who's not. I think it's the was it the bar scene?
Where he's on stage and there's
But just past him, there's a demon creature sitting in a chair. I'm not gonna lie. The first two times I went through it, I didn't look at the character. I'm like, that guy jumps up. I'm down. I'm on the ground. But it's not real. But still, I never, because I was like, watch, at some point they're going to replace this dummy with this character. So both of those houses, Oddfellows, it reminded me of the puppet house that they had another year. I think both of those houses are highly underrated, and I really enjoyed them.
Darkest Deal, like, I always wonder, like, was this a concept for a film that just didn't make it all the way through, that they turned into, like, I mean, obviously in the very early stages, like, it's got to be fun to be on the writing committee for these original concept houses. That's pretty neat.
They do full podcasts on that, actually. They have a Horror Nights YouTube channel where they have the creators sitting around the round table, and I've listened to a couple of them, and they're really very interesting. It sounds like a great team to be on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Exorcist, you know, that's an easy concept to scare people. I think the original house, when you walked in the soundstage and you saw the light coming through the window, was a great start. This one, unfortunately, the movie's not out for another 2 weeks.
So it is based on the movie that hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah, which they've done before. They've done that before. So it had that to compete with. So you're just going off the fact, Exorcist. Okay. So I don't know if that helped it or hurt it. It has always a strong wait time, but I think it had some good scares in it.
Well,
but,
you both called it the scariest house, correct? Oh no, you both guessed that it was the scariest, but neither of you said it was. That's right.
I think it's my number 2 scariest. I'll definitely tell you it's the creepiest. It's mostly demons and the creepy girl. Like, that's the house.
Yeah.
I will tell you, it did give us the very first scare of that house on one of the times we went, gave us the biggest scare we have ever had at a Horror Nights event. So we did not see this guy coming, demon. He came out of nowhere and stayed with us. And me and Allie went into the wall on the other side of the thing. And like, I don't usually check on her after, but for the next like room or so, I'm like, you're okay, right? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. But it was a good scare. And I thank that actor from the bottom of my soul for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk food. I know we've gone a little bit long. Thank you so much for sticking with us, but we're talking about one of the best events in the Central Florida area. If you listen to the Chipping Company Podcast Network, you probably know a few things about Universal Studios. Let's talk food.
The food is generally good. The lines are too long.
So is the event just keeps getting more crowded and crowded as years go by? Is that what it is?
No,
or
I first off, team members, you're working your butt off. I've seen you working your butt off. This is not about you. This is always about the people who control the money and the staffing. The lines are too long. Every line, I think I saw one TikTok that described it best. Every line is an hour to 2 hours. I said, screw that. I waited 30 minutes for a pretzel instead. And that's essentially what it is. If you don't want to wait in line for a house, you're going to wait. For my first pizza skull, I waited 20 minutes for a $9 pizza skull. The line for the Last of Us food, super long. The lines in the New York area and even by Minions Cafe, super long. They lost some money for me because the lines were too long. I was ready to go every night and eat something from there, but lines were too long.
Yeah.
And I did get the one hamburger. It
The
had
blood
like
of,
peanut.
yes.
It was. It got a. It got a thumbs down for me. It was kind of small. I didn't really taste the toppings that well. I gotta talk about the hot dog, Brian. It was like birthday cake confetti bun, I think, and then you had a red hot dog. You had Kool-Aid, pickles on top, and then some bubblegum flavoring for the sauce on it. It sounds like a kid just said, "Screw it, I'm going to make whatever I want."
I was gonna say, it just sounds like
But
my son became Betty Crocker for the day.
I know. See, the problem is when I had the hamburger, I wasn't. I was like, okay, I can say I got it. When I got the hot dog, I was like, I'm glad I got this. I'm not going to get it again, but I'm glad I got it. So that was the difference between the hamburger and the hot
So
dog.
it wasn't good, or it wasn't worth the
Uh,
money. Which of the two?
The hamburger wasn't worth the money. That was like a $15, barely bigger than a slider hamburger. The hot dog was less expensive, a little better tasting. If I wouldn't run out to get it again, but if I was bored or curious, I would get it again. So,
Rob, any other food items you want to call out, or something you haven't tried you want to get to, besides the Hawaiian pizza?
If you get twisted taters that are cooked right, they're good, but sometimes they're soggy and oily, so I've been staying away from them. Pizza fries and s'mores fries are always a classic. I get those multiple times. We introduce those to the kids. I recommend it. There is that stew that I want to try over by the DeLorean, but they just keep not having it.
Yep.
And other than that, I don't waste. I would say don't waste your time on a long food line unless there's really something you want. You can usually find a quieter food line. And those tacos, I was saying, those are always good. That taco stand that's over by Cafe La Bamba, those are always good. They make them fresh, so sometimes they take a while if it's crowded. So that is the only problem really with the food.
But Rob, I'm at Halloween Horror Nights. I'm there all night. I want a true meal. I want to sit down. I want to eat a meal. Where are you going?
Okay. I would either order something from Minions Cafe or even Richter's is usually quiet if you just want to sit and eat. And the pizza's really good. Even if you go to Cafe Louis there, Louis restaurant.
I was Cafe Louis, great seating. The pasta's good. The pizza's good.
Yeah.
They have pizza fries there.
And they have pizza fries. I've gotten it there twice this season. So yeah, I recommend those for if you just want to eat and it's good food and you're probably not going to wait a long time.
I almost always end up at Richter's for whatever reason, like just because that's where I'm at when it's raining or whatever. I think Richter's is good. I like it. Their chocolate milkshake is fantastic.
So good.
All right. I want to hear more about the Dementors.
Death Eaters.
Death Eaters. That's what I meant.
Dementors would actually, it's so funny.
That'd be even better.
Mix those up. They would be amazing. I like the Death Eaters for what they are. I mean, you have them already, so why they weren't even there in previous years makes no sense.
But they're not at the night bus. They're only inside Diagon Alley, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
They're not outside. You got to be inside. It gives people a reason to go in there besides just the ride during Horror Nights. They got this wonderful green light. They do a whole little show. Then they go out into the crowds so you can get some pictures, get some video. Then when their time's up, they end up back on that stage. They do a little thing. Fire comes up and they're gone. If you're a Harry Potter fan, I don't know how you miss it.
Mark, anything to add on the Death Eaters?
I thought it was going to be an actual show, kind of like the story time, but it's definitely something small and brief. Like I said, the Death Eaters get in your face with their wand and everything, so they're going to get real up close and personal. So Potter fans, you'll be entertained.
If you're using Halloween Horror Nights as a way to visit Universal Studios, some of the rides might be worth your time. However, if you have a chance to go to Universal Studios on not during the event, should you waste your time, for lack of a better term, riding a single ride throughout the event?
Not if you have other opportunities to go, but for somebody like me that goes often, sometimes I'll take a break. We had the kids the other day. I'll use the low wait times for things like Transformers and Men in Black just to get a break, to sit down, and we do something fun.
But there's no difference on the ride whatsoever. All the rides are exactly the same.
It's not like the Halloween party at Disney or Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
By the way, I know that we're probably running long. We should touch on Nightmare Fuel Tribute Store and David Pumpkins before we go.
Please do. That's where I was headed right to Nightmare Fuel. Go ahead.
Nightmare Fuel, personally,
in the
is
Fear
not
Factor Theater, correct?
Yes, in the Fear Factor Theater. It is not my personal favorite show, but I will tell you, it has weights. People rave about this. There are people that go every night to see this show. It's like a crazy late night adult Cirque du Soleil where they're doing aerial acts. They have fire tricks, fire twirlers. It always has a little nightmare story theme that somebody falls asleep and has a nightmare. It is a wonderful show. It has a lot of athleticism. A lot of time goes into it. I prefer the comedy show. I miss a Bill and Ted style show every year because I think it needs a comedy aspect. But if you are going once, I think everybody would recommend you see this show.
I've seen a nighttime show where somebody has a nightmare and it gets taken over by Ursula and other villains as well. Mark, do you like Nightmare Fuel?
This is one of the many perks of having Rob on a show. Nightmare Fuel, Hey, no, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. To the performers, you all are amazing. You all are in great shape. You all are talented. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do anything close to what you can do.
We won't.
No, yeah, I gave myself a little hope. But I saw it a couple years ago, and I dug it when it had like illusions and the storyline and all that. But now it's over. It's done. I'm happy. It brings joy to so many people. There is rumblings on the street. I'm not really a gossiper, but there are rumblings on the street that it is its final year. If so, I'm not going to miss it. They need to do something, I believe, better. But I honestly, Rob, I've told so many people, don't go see that show. Go wait in line for a house instead.
I don't disagree with you, but I just know the response from the crowd, and I know I feel like I'm in the minority that don't need to go see it. It's not why I'm there.
No, I'm with you in the minority then.
Permission to give a hot take?
Feeling please.
I think the David S. Pumpkins entire skit is the most overrated thing in the history of Saturday Night Live. Why should I care about it being at Halloween Horror Nights?
Wait, Brian, I'm going to tell you this. The David S. Pumpkin at Horror Nights made me extremely uncomfortable to the point where I saw it. He looked in my direction, and once again, nothing against the actor. He's doing his job, and he's doing it well, as LL Cool J says. But I had to awkwardly walk away because I was very uncomfortable by the David S. Pumpkin, and I was worried that friends were going to ask me to go over there because I would have told them, no, I'm uncomfortable by the David S. Pumpkin.
I don't think it's a funny skit. I don't. Like, I just don't get it. Rob, do you get it?
It brings people joy, like Rob says.
I was going to say, now, I love the skit. I think the skit, I think it's very funny. Because
I don't know why, but I laughed at the skit as well.
Because, well, for me, it's simple. It's Tom Hanks acting so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, Keenan always sells it. Keenan can almost do no wrong for me. Now, that being said, and I'm not putting anything against the guy doing it, it's such a unique character. I feel like it's got to be Tom Hanks on, and he's not, it doesn't come off that way for me. It's not something I need to see. I like the idea of it, but I don't like the execution of it.
I saw a lot of people, they didn't know for the first 2 weeks if that was an actual Universal performer or just someone pretending. And there was a lot of, like, I was checking out the fan groups.
Like just cosplaying?
Yeah, because that's just it. Rob knows
Rob
knows about dressing up as David S. Pumpkin.
I have the suit. Yes, I have the suit.
So I saw people dressed up in David S. Pumpkin like the first week, and I guarantee Halloween week people will. So I was with them. I didn't know if this was just some overly passionate guy or nope. And then, of course, I found out, nope, this is Universal approved.
And it's one actor. You either see him or you don't. If he's on break, there's
Right.
nobody there. It's
Yep.
one guy that is him, which I kind of like that they did to keep it consistent.
Yes.
Right.
But it's not giving me enough of the Hanks vibes to make it something I need to do.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's one of the most overrated SNL skits of all time, and the fact that they brought it back was even worse. I hate that skit. I hate that skit. But Tom Hanks drives me nuts within the last 10 years of his career. So, we've talked about it. We'll talk about it later too. But what was the last thing, Rob? You said you wanted to make sure we talk about.
We got to mention the tribute store. The tribute
Yes, please
store
do.
is
Wait. So last quick about the show. Rob,
Yes.
do you want, or about Megan's, do you want them to do another like pop-up show like that where, like, I know people were speculating saying it's between the hour and 15 after. Do you want Universal to do more shows like that going forward, like the Megans?
Yes, I think pop-up shows are great because, and very simply, because I know you have a lot of Disney fans on the show. It's like Streetmosphere that they used to have at Hollywood Studios. I want things to I want things to pop up and keep you engaged, and it doesn't have to be waiting on it. Like I said, you might go to see Nightmare Fuel, and you're not going to get into that show, and you might have to either sit there for an hour and a half till the next show, or I don't want that. I like that things are going to pop up and surprise me in different places. Like, oh, what's going on over there? I think it adds to it. So I am all for pop-up shows.
Those cavalcades were one of like the only good things about the parks during COVID.
Yes.
And then hot take, Universal is doing a better job with Streetmosphere performers and atmosphere. Disney is fading it out, keeping them behind railings. Universal, I walked through on my last day there for Horror Nights, and there was characters everywhere for you to dance with, photos with, watch, laugh with. It was great. Good on Universal.
I'll give you this, though. Universal also, the characters can kind of fend for themselves because like Beetlejuice is a great example. If you see Beetlejuice on any given day at Universal, not at Horror Nights, but he'll be rude to you. You're not going to get on. You're not going to outwit Beetlejuice. Like, so if you're going to try to play with him or do something, whatever, he can take care of himself. Whereas like Gaston's not going to be allowed to. Donald Duck's not going to be allowed to. So I think that makes it more easily available at Universal that the characters can be out and about.
Right. True. Good point.
I wish Winnie the Pooh would insult you.
Right?
Tribute store.
Tribute store is its own iconic thing of Horror Nights every year. This year was no different. They brought you into your own comic book, and the people who make it, they've actually written a comic book. That's why it's all comic themed. And I think they're going to do it over the next 4 years, where the whole tribute store is themed to these 4 short stories that are in this comic book. We actually have it. I can't reach it right now, but it's a little further away from me. But it's beautiful stories. One is based on the Boris Schuster character, which they made a house about a year or two ago that you can actually see on the street in New York across from where the Blues Brothers are. There's some cool projection effects in there. There's always a place to get new food, a little dessert stand, if you will, for the event. And then you can always be part of the action by paying to do something. This year, it's get your face on one of 5 comic book covers, which Allie and I did. We made sure we got in there early. So we are in the tribute store on this hallway wall that they line up everybody that has purchased one of these covers and sent in a picture, and you get to keep it at the end of the season.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I like it. Mark, you got anything else on Horror Nights 32 before we wrap it up?
Tribute store, loved it. Great photo opportunities, great merchandise. The food, not the best year for food that they've had, but they always usually have great food. So having a small down year, but I loved the photo opportunities in that store. Stepping into the black and white comic book, even with the black and white rain, with the, like you said, the projection graphics, it was great.
Amazing.
So great photo opportunity.
Rob, we kept you longer than we'd planned on, but we really appreciate you coming on to talk about one of your ultimate favorite things. Anything else you want to make sure gets a mention before we get you out of here?
I don't think so. If you have any questions, you can message me. I will skip dinner to talk to anybody about this event. I love it that much.
Yeah. Rob, tell people how they can find you on social media and hear your lovely voice in person or online.
You can find me at piano_Rob on Instagram or TikTok or my small YouTube, or just look me up, my name, Rob Volpe, on Facebook. You can see me at the Boathouse, mostly if you're at Disney Springs, occasionally at the Rose and Crown in Epcot, and Thursday night on WDW News Tonight on YouTube.
Oh, what a fun time. Well, friends, that concludes this episode. We thank you, fans, for uniting with us. For those listeners who want to get in touch with the show, please do so. And for all those who want to stay up to date on everything United We Fan on social media, please join us there as well. Bryan, let our fans and listeners know how to stay up to date on everything UWF.
You can find us on Instagram at UnitedWeFan_podcast, Facebook at United We Fan, the podcast, or shoot us an email, UnitedWeFanPodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you again, and listen to us wherever you check out your podcasts. Till we unite again, fans, remember, when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights, never go alone. Woo-hoo. Right, Bryan? Bryan? Hello? Anyone? Bryan?